Well, there's a first for everything, because I have never built a PC in a yellow case before. Welcome back to the PC Rehab, my friends. Today is going to be a very fun video because we are going to be building an extremely powerful gaming PC inside of this Thermaltake Tower 300 case. Now, this is an ATX case, if you can believe it, and it has a more unique look than what you typically see. And it also has a very unique cooling style, which I am very excited to see in action. Now, this is actually not the first version of the tower case by Thermaltake. They actually have quite a few different variations of this case, and over time it has evolved into the Tower 300 with this look right here. The older designs were very boxed off, you know, very sharp edges, and they look more like a cube, and I never really enjoyed that design, but this design right here, I can definitely get behind this design. And people say that the new style of cases is more like a fish tank, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this thing reminds me more of a fish tank than any of those other cases. Or maybe more like a terrarium. Like, we should put little trees in here and a waterfall and just pack this thing full of frogs and lizards. So this whole case is actually toolless, meaning you can remove every single panel, including the glass, without using any tools. Toolless. No tools. So you might be thinking to yourself, where on earth am I supposed to put my graphics card? Because this case seems like it's a little skinnier than most other cases, and we all know that like 4080s and 4090s are basically the size of small children these days. So I'm glad that you brought it up, because the motherboard inside of this case actually goes in sideways with the I/O shield facing the top of the case so that your GPU is mounted up and down, and the GPU fans are facing the side panel here, which means that your GPU is always breathing in cold air. Now, the cooling fun does not stop at the GPU. There's actually quite a few different ways that you can go about cooling your CPU. You can go with the traditional air style cooler. Now, your motherboard is already sideways, so when you mount your air cooler, it will be facing the correct direction, pulling air up from the bottom, up and out of the case. And on the left-hand side here, you do have the ability to install a 420mm AIO if that is something that you wanted. Or you can go with the traditional 360mm AIO. And on top of the case here, you do have two pre-installed 140mm fans. So what you have here is cold air being drawn in from both sides and being pushed out of the case. And to help that process along down here at the bottom, you can fit a 120 or a 140mm fan to just speed up the cooling process. And if the color yellow is just not your thing, don't worry, this case comes in a multitude of different colors for you to choose from. I just picked yellow because, well, why not? Now, is it really a case review if you haven't built a computer inside of the case you're talking about? I mean, really, honestly, how are you truly going to know if you enjoy the experience of that case until you go ahead and build a PC in it? So that's what we're gonna do today. And you're gonna love this thing. So I really do like how this PC turned out, and I hope that you agree that it is a very unique looking case design, and I think once it's all put together, it definitely catches the eye, and the performance from this thing is fantastic. But if I did have to, restart and do this whole process over again, there are a few changes that I would probably make, starting with the AIO that I used for this build. Now this is the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3, and it has a much larger radiator size than what you typically find for AIOs. This AIO's radiator is 38 millimeters thick, and for most AIOs, you get around 27 millimeters thick. Now, it does provide much better cooling because it is thicker, but in this case, you really are cramped for space when you decide to go with a very thick radiator. It caused the cable extensions for the CPU power to have to be pulled very tight so that the cable extensions didn't hit the fan blades. Now, it didn't hurt anything, but it was something that I would probably choose to not do in the future. And the other thing that I had an issue with is you don't have the ability to rotate the pump head on this AIO, causing the logo to be sideways. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that, you see it and you would love to change it. And honestly, I'd probably go with a different fan if I had to redo this. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Thermaltake fans. They are moving massive amounts of air inside of this case. It is 3 140 millimeter fans and 3 120 millimeter fans on the AIO. So there is absolutely zero problem with air movement, but the magnetic feature on the ARGB, because they are daisy chained and they are all connected, if one of these magnetic connectors comes off or moves slightly, you lose functionality of that fan, which causes all of the other fans to lose their ARGB. Now, they will still run, but you won't have the ARGB until you wiggle around all your magnetic connectors to find the one that's loose that's causing all of your ARGB not to work. Now, as long as you're not moving the PC all over the place, it's not going to be a big deal, but it was a minor annoyance because it happened to me 3 times. I lost all the ARGB inside of this computer, and it's just kind of annoying. I'd probably just gone with something a little bit easier to use. Now, I did want to use these fans because they are rotatable. I mean, you can pop the fan out and easily clean them, and they give you both the reversed fans and the normal fans. So it was really nice to work with them. I love the idea of them. I just think the magnetic feature of them needs some kind of locking mechanism so that it doesn't move after you plug it in. And as far as the gameplay goes for our system, it's an extremely impressive system, getting us an average of 140 FPS in Battlefield 2042 at ultra settings and 164 FPS at ultra settings in Modern Warfare 2. In games like Horizon Zero Dawn at ultra settings, this system was getting an average of 141 FPS, and in Helldivers, we're getting 130 FPS on average, also at ultra settings. And it is also important to note that all gameplay testing was done at 1440p. So if a 4070 Ti Super and a 13700K were something that you were looking into, I say go for it because the performance was awesome. Now, it can't always be sunshine and rainbows, and this case is not exempt to that statement, because there is one thing about this case that I found kind of annoying. It's not the end of the world, but it was a minor annoyance, and that is with your ability to plug in your DisplayPort cables to your graphics card, and if you need to plug anything into the back of your motherboard. In order to gain access to your I/O for your motherboard, you have to take off the top of this case, and you have to use the thumb screws to remove the tray that houses your 140 millimeter fans, just so that you can plug everything in and then route it through the hole in the back. It's not the end of the world, but if you're somebody who's going to be moving the PC pretty often, it's kind of annoying. Now, I don't know what else they could have done. I mean, I think that's pretty much the best option they could have come up with, but if that is something that would annoy you, I mean, that's unavoidable with this case. But if there is a conversation on high airflow cases, this thing needs to be in the conversation because the airflow in here is fantastic. And if that is something you are looking for, I highly recommend it. I'm gonna put links to all of the products that we used inside of this build in the description down below. And if you wanna check it out, please feel free. Oh, and if you had some fun here with me today, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as smash that like button. It helps my channel out tremendously. We do a lot of PC builds around here, so if watching computers get built is something that you enjoy, man, you found the right place. Now, goodbyes are never fun, but I need to plug this thing back up and get to gaming because I had an absolute blast gaming on this thing. And don't you worry, I'll be back again next week with another fantastic PC build. But before I do go, I did want to say that no matter where you are in the world, I hope that you are having the most fantastic day. And I'm going to see you right here for the next video.